Good evening, race fans, and welcome to tonight's broadcast of the Belly Up Sports Cup Series live from the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's the North Wilkesboro 200, the first race in the round of 10 for the Belly Up Sports playoffs this season. I am Zach Evans, not joined by David Westergreen tonight. However, we will have, as his duties allow, William White joining me in the booth this evening. He is race control here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series, and I'm just gonna be honest, William. I think you're gonna have a busy night.
Yeah, classic short track racing, isn't it? It's going to be carnage, hectic, really, from the drop of the green flag. We've got 2 centuries worth of laps ahead of us, only 100 miles, but when we're, probably not even, we're going well below sort of 70 odd miles an hour in the middle of the corner, those laps will really crawl by if those yellows begin to pile up. But hopefully I'll have a nice relaxed night. I think we can get sort of 10, 12 laps under green. I think we can potentially look at a couple long runs.
Well, definitely we'll be hoping that is the case. Of course, as I mentioned, first race in this round of the playoffs, there is your playoff grid as they enter the round of 10. Ethan Stanley leading the way, Blake Reynolds second, Matthew Weeks third, Tyler Fody fourth, Ethan Burrell in fifth, and Jonathan Cutlip, Scott Crump, Justin Wadsworth, Garrison Hogan, Gavin Hibbs, rounding out your field of 10 drivers that will be part of this round of the playoffs. Starts tonight at North Wilkesboro. Next week will be at Iowa Speedway, and then concludes at Homestead Miami Speedway on May the 28th. And this round will set the championship 4 that will do battle for the title at Las Vegas on June 4th. Right now, the field qualifying, setting the lineup for tonight's 200 lap race. About 1 minute left in the time trial session. And once that minute is up, we'll find out who is on the 4D Racewear poll for the evening. Last time out,
very competitive times come up. I see Jonathan Cutlip half a tenth of a second, I should say, ahead of Blake Reynolds. So I think that's definitely a marker for everyone to chase in these dying embers here.
and it'll be very interesting to see how this car races tonight. Even with the adjustments to more realistic weather for the second half of this season, it is a hot one, which, I mean, if you've ever spent time in North Carolina at this time of year, you know how that can be the case. And certainly that's what we have been given tonight. Current track temp of 122 degrees Fahrenheit, which is down about 9 degrees from where it was at the start of practice. So hopefully it'll keep trending in that direction as the evening continues. Wrapping up qualifying now, we should have a starting lineup here momentarily, but as William White said, looks like Jonathan Cutlip will be the winner of the 4D Racewear Pole Award tonight. There you see him leading the field of green tonight. Trey Holmes joining him on the front row. Tyler Fody will start third. Blake Reynolds joining him on row number 2. Chad Frankenfield, freshly eliminated from the playoffs, he will start 5th. Ethan Burrell rolls off from the 6th position. Matthew Weeks and Ethan Stanley make up the 4th row in tonight's lineup. Justin Wadsworth, defending series champion, rolls off 9th. Gavin Hibbs rounds out the top 10. Jesse Racimus will start 11th. Jeff Green, representing South Shore Racing, starts 12th. Paul Mikolajczyk starting 13th. Scott Crump 14th. Garrison Hogan 15th. Caleb Kumer in the 16th position. David Hooker will start 17th. Michael Hossack 18th. Nick Massey 19th. Johnny Thomas rounding out the top 20. Row 11 consists of Seth Rawls and Justin Fortner. Gavin Higgins and Justin Vandermarl will make up row 12. Further back, we have Gerald Campbell and Ray Bracey on the 13th row. Brent Jones, 27th. Josh Adams, 28th. Harrison Talon will start 29th. Dustin Dewar starting 30th. Rounding out our field of 35 competitors, Michael Goodman, 31st. Kyle Hanshaw, 32nd. Mark Rabilis, 33rd. Brian Gable, 34th. And Carlos Acosta will start shotgun on the 35-car field. There you see the field lined up on the front stretch. Jonathan Cutlip, Trey Holmes on the front row, as they should be rolling away here momentarily. There you see the pace car in motion. Have a couple of pace laps here, and then we will be ready to go for 200 laps here in the North Wilkesboro 200.
I'm hoping for a cleaner affair. We've got some big names also up the front. Jonathan Cutlip with a very quick pole time. Trey Holmes, though, very impressive qualifying effort from him. Foti, the only other driver to get below a 19.4. Blake Reynolds, for an ex-Coke driver, I'd say P4 is somewhat out of position for someone of his caliber. So we'll see if he can make up that ground. Over 200 laps, but I fear that this might quickly devolve into something of trying to get ahead of the yellow, make as many positions as you can on the short run, and then that mentality being the actual cause of the yellows, and then that just perpetuating itself. I hope that's not the case, but that is definitely a concern that I have.
Well, last time here we had 16 cautions. That was in the 2023 B season. It's been a little while since the Belly Up Sports Cup Series has been at North Wilkesboro, but we'll see if we can improve on those caution numbers this time around. We'll see the pace car pull off here this time out of turn number 4. Jonathan Cutlip, Trey Holmes on the front row, and we are ready to go for 200 laps here at North Wilkesboro.
Already seen some wheel spin up at the front. Saw Jonathan Cutlip get a bit out of shape there on the low side. Obviously the undulation of this very old circuit causing a bit of problems in the higher downforce next gen cup car, but Jonathan Cutlip will assume the lead at the exit of turn 4. Trey Holmes going to try and hang around the outside of Tyler Foti. He will do so. Single file throughout the top 4 here. Further 2x2 scraps going on behind them, but it's a clean and green first lap with not too many dramas, it would seem.
So far so good here at this retrofitted North Wilkesboro Speedway, added to iRacing during 2020. Before the track reopened in 2022, and of course became the site of the All-Star race in 2023. Obviously it's all nice and shiny now, renovated, new coat of asphalt in the real world, but this version of iRacing we have, or this version of North Wilkesboro we have on iRacing rather, dated back using reference material to represent how the track looked in 1987.
Yeah, it's definitely a much more of a rough and tumble, not necessarily run down, but certainly a more retro. You see the concrete barriers lining the circuit instead of course the now mandated in NASCAR safer barriers that would typically be on the inside and outside of circuits. That's just metal railing on the inside, so not in the best interest of driver safety back in the late 1980s, but that's come a long way. Of course the new renovations have been added to the circuit for the NASCAR Cup Series, but it's quite cool to actually be able to go back sort of in a time capsule and see what the track was like back in 1987, but drive it with the 2020s cars. I think that is definitely something fun to be able to do on iRacing. And of course iRacing was kind of pivotal in actually getting the track revived at all, also with help of the likes of Dale Hannott Jr. and whatnot, and the Save the Speedway initiative. So definitely quite cool to be able to race here long before it even came back to the schedule.
Absolutely. Of course, the whole process started with we're going to, weed whack and get rid of some of the grass and other, vegetation that had grown through the racing surface for the sole purpose of getting it scanned for iRacing. And then it kind of generated this interest in bringing the real life product as we watch this battle here. This is for the 7th position. Chad Frankenfield inching ahead of Gavin Hibbs. And that was kind of your furthest side-by-side battle up front right now. The top 6 or so have been able to get away and run single file. And now our first side-by-side is right here. That's Garrison Hogan, Jesse Racema side-by-side. That's about the 15th position, I do believe.
Yeah, that's Garrison Hogan wanting to undo a less than ideal qualifying for the number 55. Of course, he's currently the playoff car furthest back in the grid, which really speaks volumes. The round of 10 and only 14th is where you'll find the furthest back car. Speaks to the quality, really, of these drivers that we now find in the playoffs for this round. But of course, that does mean that he has to work extra hard to get those crucial points, both for himself as well as away from his competitors. The likes of Trey Holmes and Chad Frankenfield. You see those non-playoff drivers in blue. There's an incident here between Dura and Acosta. I'll have to have a look at that. But those guys in the back definitely playing spoiler somewhat.
William White's going to step away and put on the race control hat. No caution there, but certainly, that could be an incident where we see Dustin Dewar potentially receiving severe damage as a result of that moment from Carlos Acosta. We'll see how William rules on that, but net result, of course, probably a lot of damage there for both the 32 of Dewar, who I do see with a meatball, and definitely not the night he wanted to have to start out things. Indeed, just heard William make the call. I'm sure he'll be able to explain, give his side of it when he rejoins us here in the booth, but he did just issue the tally to the 0-2 of Carlos Acosta. Up front, nope, that's Jonathan Cutlip, who is stretched out almost 3/4 of a second lead here. Tyler Fode's got to try to get around Trey Holmes, move into that second position. There you see that orange playoff banner across the top of the windshield. Also, those 10 remaining playoff drivers have the orange spoilers as well to help spot them on the racetrack, as well as, of course, on the scoring pylon on the left-hand side, they have the orange background behind their car number versus the blue for the rest of the field.
Yeah, definitely something that the non-playoff drivers, will be keeping in mind. Throughout maybe give their rivals in the orange banners and spoilers maybe just an extra sort of half an inch or so, but I'm sure most of these guys probably just racing the exact same as they would anybody else. Of course, they're well within their right to. There is no rite of passage for simply getting to the round of 10 that you have to be raced any differently, but I think it's certainly a bit more infuriating when you're a playoff driver and you end up getting tangled up with someone who's not even in the same playoff round as you. It can be something of a grievance, but honestly, with how clean this first 10% of the race has been, knock on wood, I don't think we'll run into too many of those issues today. Everyone seems to be being very clean and respectful with one another.
Yeah, so far, I mean, I don't want to speak too much about it and jinx it, but we're closing in on 20 laps clean and green to start this race. I've always said that this North Wilkesboro Speedway, something about it, if you can get these green flag runs, it puts on some of the best short track racing on the iRacing platform. And you don't really notice it until you're on the track in the sim, but especially in turns 1 and 2, it has some of that kind of progressive banking that makes running 2 or 3 different lanes viable as you burn off the tires. And I think you're going to start seeing that if we continue this green flag run.
Yeah, you're already seeing, even like during qualifying in these opening lap series, everyone pushing the envelope a little bit more. They're diamonding turns 1 and 2. They drive it in sort of in between that first hash line that you see enveloping the bottom of the racetrack, and then they'll come out a bit and then come back down as the curve sort of pokes out through the middle of turn 2 there, as you can see, just as we focus on Justin Vandermeer here. And that'll try and fire them off as fast as they can down the back straight. So one end of the track going downhill, which of course is turns 1 and 2, making braking a bit more difficult going into 1, and uphill into turn 3 and 4. So definitely could see some difficulties arriving there as tires begin to wear, brake performance begins to deteriorate ever so slightly. We know these next-gen Cup cars are susceptible to being a bit finicky under brake pressure, so we could see that come into play later on, but these guys have done exceptionally well to acclimate to the conditions as well as they have done thus far, with not much error, as we see Blake Reynolds here getting past Trey Holmes with little resistance, it would seem, from the 23.
Yeah, Trey Holmes was way up the hill there in 3 and 4. Not sure if that was a case of missing the mark or just giving way to Blake Reynolds there. Regardless, Reynolds will move up to the 3rd position. Trey Holmes settling into 4th. Now we'll look a little further back. There you see the 2 car of Jeff Green, the 90 of Scott Crump, and then it's Paul Mikulajczyk and Garrison Hogan, the Channel 199 teammates behind them. Now Crump looking to the inside of Jeff Green, and that's a battle for the 11th position.
Yeah, definitely another crucial point that Scott Crump will look to take early doors here. Jeff Green not really putting on much of a fight. Paul Mikulajczyk now on his inside. I think Jeff Green might just be struggling at this exact moment in time. You see Garrison Hogan just dipping down to the bottom of the track, trying to follow his Channel 199 teammate, as you mentioned, Zach, through here on the number 2 car here of Jeff Green. And there's a yellow on lap 27. Let's hope it's not the start of the caution breeding cautions. Let's have a look.
We'll have a look on the Revelist Photography replay machine, and it looks like our attention is being drawn to the 46 of Kyle Hanshaw, who just gets out of shape exiting turn 4. Barely Michael Goodman gets a piece of it, but I think he's going to be all right. As far as incidents go, that's a pretty harmless one for what can happen at these short tracks, and just a little kiss there. That probably hurt Hanshaw more than it did Goodman, catching that left front tire. I do not see a meatball, fortunately, for the 46 of Kyle Hanshaw, so he does not have mandatory repairs, but wouldn't be surprised if that knocked that left front wheel in. As you see, a lot of guys taking this opportunity to come down pit road, get some fresh tires. Everybody with 5 sets of tires in the pits tonight. 6 sets in all, including the 4 tires they started the race with. And there's our race format, 200 laps, which comes out to 126 miles, give or take a little bit. Around roughly a 5/8 mile here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Stage break, end of lap 65. There will not be a caution at that point unless we have one by natural causes, but stage points on the offering for the top 10 drivers once we've completed the 65th of 200 laps. Taking a look through the field here. Jonathan Cutlip leading the way. Tyler Fody in 2nd. Blake Reynolds 3rd. Ethan Stanley 4th. Gavin Hibbs 5th. Chad Frankenfield 6th. Then you have Justin Wadsworth and Matthew Weeks on the 4th row for this restart. And the 5th row will be Paul Mikulajczyk and Garrison Hogan. Field doubled up. It'll be 1 to go for this restart. Pace car will pull off this time, and we'll see if we can get another one of those long green flag runs going.
Be nice, wouldn't it? Jonathan Cutlip's going to enter the restart zone. Obviously, he now controls the restart now. As he gets a good couple of tenths clear of Tyler Fody. Now Fody fighting back here through 1 and 2. He will clear the 40 at the exit of turns 2 and into 3. And will retain the lead now, going into turn 4, but Fody all over the back of him as well now as the field bunched up once again.
Indeed. Back underway. See the field bunching up a little bit more than we saw last time as Jonathan Cutlip trying to run away. Here we look at the side-by-side. Gavin Hibbs to the inside of Chad Frankenfield and Matthew Weeks. Hibbs in that red and black 95 car on the inside with the orange playoff banner. Just can't seem to quite pull up alongside Chad Frankenfield. Chad's leaving him the lane, but I think now Chad's going to be able to fully clear himself and get down to the bottom if he wants it. He might be happy in that second lane, though, at the moment.
I'm about to say, it looks that way. I think he's more than happy to just run a little bit higher. Definitely gives him a bit higher of a minimum speed around the track. I don't know what it's going to do for his tyres, though. Typically on iRacing, you want to run lower to preserve tyre. Now runs the white line right below Ethan Stanley, looking potentially for a move on his fellow Pennsylvanian in the number 91 machine, as Weeks does clear Gavin Hibbs, who was somewhat trapped on the bottom. That is, I suppose, part of the nuance of North Wilkesboro. It can tend to become somewhat multi-groove, and getting trapped on the bottom could be something of a death sentence. There's contact between the 15 and the 91 there. A bit of rough and tumble on the short track already. Oh. And again, more wheel arch contact between the pair. We'll see if Stanley has anything to say about that, but Frankie that one's a fourth.
It's funny, I didn't even realize Ethan Stanley was from Pennsylvania. You're not even from the state, so you know the geography a little bit better than I do, apparently. But no love shown there between the fellow Keystone Staters there.
Definitely wouldn't seem to be, as I think, just looking back at it, I think just maybe a bit riding too high from Chad. Gets into the left rear of Ethan Stanley, but, well, he'll take anything he can get. Chad on a pretty decent run tonight, yet to win a Cup Series race this season. I don't know if he's scored a podium yet. Fourth might be his best finish of the season, but he's doing quite well, showing good pace, so we'll see if he can finish the deal as the highest non-playoff driver on the grid. But looking sweet right now in P4, but still a long ways to go, of course.
Indeed, still 160 laps left as we're seeing some really hectic racing a little further back. 3 wide near Scott Crump, Michael Hosek, Justin Fortner. They're about the 17th position. Now Jeff Green has worked his way into that conversation. Scott Crump has been able to get away, as has... Oh, here, look at Johnny Thomas making the outside work. Holy cow.
Saw Johnny Thomas actually scraped the wall, I think, about a lap ago. That's not having him shy away at all. Still 3 abreast there. Michael Hossack's probably a bit tense behind the wheel of that Robadas photo Toyota there, as I think there's someone going for a bit of a quarter spin down the back, as again Johnny Thomas goes free ride around Fortner and Jeff Green. I think he's got a fresh set of boots on that car, and Jeff Green's gone around off the nose of Justin Fortner. Harrison Talon's involved, and that is a second caution.
Well, you kind of had a feeling something was brewing there and it was going to happen. Johnny Thomas working the outside of 3 wide. I gotta be honest, I love running that lane when I'm in the car. It does work. I talked about before, but it does make it very tight if you're still 3 wide on corner exit and you're not able to clear. Probably not the... It seems like maybe...
Net code.
That's got to be a tough call. Definitely a little bit, maybe some net code. I also don't know if Jeff Green maybe knew, did not get the spotter call that they were 3 wide. He's working his way up the hill. Right here you see he tries to leave the lane.
Yeah.
I think he maybe got the call late from his spotter. Nevertheless, he just kind of run out of room there. Contact between the 26 of Fortner and the 2 of Jeff Green. There you see Harrison Talon's going to get a piece of it as well.
I think that was just the product of Johnny Thomas trying to get the move done. Did it cleanly, in fairness to him, was absolutely there. And I think Fortner and Green were both respecting that. I think just between the absence of room in a general sense and the net code between the 26 and 83, I don't think I can really blame anyone for that. I think that's just an unfortunate racing deal. I'd like to think without net code we'd still be racing.
So there you have it. I'm sure Mr. White will let the field know his decision here, but you've heard his ruling there in real time since he's with us in the booth tonight. Does not look like, or are the pits opening this time? No. Okay, so everybody's just got to stay out here, it looks like, which understandable. Not much of a long run that time.
Not as long. To be fair, that was, 15 laps? That wasn't terrible.
Not terrible.
15 laps. I would have considered that a good run, honestly, prior to this. Hopefully it doesn't continue to deteriorate. like as we catch another snapping incident from the rear chase cam. That was pretty much the angle I used actually to make the call. Seemed pretty cut and dry, not really anyone exclusively at fault, but we get another long run under our belt, so we're about to come to green again.
Through the restart zone, Jonathan Cutlip leading the field to green. Tyler Fody on that front row in car 40. Hoping he can at least clear Blake Reynolds and hold on to that second position here on the restart. As we see already looking 3 wide further back. That's Ethan Burrell working the absolute high side, but this battle for the lead as well. Boy, don't ask me who led that lap.
Yeah. But he's driving it in very, very deep. I think Cutlip's being a lot more easier on the exit, on the entry, getting the exit. And Cutlip, I think, is going to just about clear. Not quite, but he's going to get there again. Another case. But finish. Oh, big one at the back there. That's going to be everyone.
That is a large incident. We have a parking lot entering turn 1.
Drivers are reporting they're not getting a 3-wide call. Or 3.
So we'll get another look. I believe that was another one of those 3-wide situations. Yeah, I think it's Burrell, Gable, and then there's a blue car which might be somewhere in here. I think it's got to be where it happens. So it was Crump, the car I saw to the inside of Gable. Yeah. Ethan Burrell, Trey Holmes, and Ryan Gable all meeting in the middle on the exit of turn 4, and then that's just got to stack up. This time, once the car starts spinning, they did a much more sufficient job of blocking the track and gave really no room for anybody to escape. Also, the front stretch, there's not that grass runoff on the inside. You're kind of boxed in by the pit wall on the inside and the retaining wall on the outside. So that got a lot bigger, a lot faster. So there you see, this is Kyle Hanshaw got to try to sneak his way through the melee. And he's got to get a tag here from Michael Hossack there at the end. He almost had it woed up before the 24 got into him. Did Bracy get through that without hitting anything? Survey says just a little kiss. Just a little kiss. That's fine. So 1 lap to green here. We'll get ready to go back racing here at North Wilkesboro. Again, Jonathan Cutlip, Tyler Fody on the front row for this restart. Just past lap 50. So getting into the second quarter of this race. Ethan Stanley on the outside of that second row. Blake Reynolds starting on the inside. Boy. Not sure if Cutlip spun the tires there or if Fody got a really good restart, but that's got to allow Tyler Fody to get out front. I do not see a black flag for him, so I think he's got to be able to stay out front here. Ethan Stanley getting up to the second position as well.
I think it's very, very difficult to restart on the inside if you're not the control car at this track. I think just the way the elevation is there, it makes it very difficult to not spin the tire. So I think that's what Cutlip did. He's generally quite quick on the reaction times on restarts. He's got quite the cat-like reflexes on the restarts, but I would definitely talk about the potentially spun tyres for the 5. He did a good job of controlling it though, especially at a track like this. The next one is prone to just spinning the first sight of danger. So to keep third and keep it going in the right direction is a job well done. He's looking again for P2 here. I'd say on pace, potentially the quickest car here, but I think track position is so crucial here that at least for this moment in time, Tyler Fogarty might just have the measure on the field.
And now Blake Reynolds trying to sneak to the inside of Jonathan Cutlip. He is going to be able to pull alongside entering turn 3 and try to wrestle away that third position.
Very incisive move there from Blake. Was already looking kind of offset 3 below Ethan and John when they were side by side, and is again looking on the inside of Ethan Stanley as he gets a big tank slapper on exit turn 2 there. Just manages to hang on there. But definitely the sort of move you'd expect from an ex-Coke driver. Knows how to make those incisive moves to try and sneak up a position without really using too much tyre. And we'll see if he can do that potentially a couple more times and make himself a real contender here.
Now it'll be Ethan Burrell looking to the inside of Garrison Hogan. Seeing that more and more, that kind of late dive into turn 3. As you mentioned, that's the uphill portion, if you will. You go uphill on the back stretch. So that makes it a little easier to make those aggressive moves when they're braking. They didn't make it that far. That is Johnny Thomas and Paul Mikolajczyk getting together on the backstretch.
That was coming a mile away. That started developing halfway down the back straight and it just didn't stop. It was like a train wreck that just wouldn't stop. I think Mikolajczyk got a little loose, puts Johnny in the wall, and from this point there is no saving it. It's over. And they both end up in the wall, eventually both of them facing the wrong way.
So this might be a good chance, Dave, while we can. I know the cautions are quick here, but maybe sneak in at least one ad and then we'll come back for a restart.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025, the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to WWTRaceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20 down.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Getting ready for the restart here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Now you see Tyler Fogarty, Blake Reynolds on the front row for this restart on what will be lap 64 in the North Wilkesboro 200. Pace car is off through the restart zone. Tyler Fogarty pulls away. There you see a little bit of wiggle from both Ethan Stanley and Jonathan Cutlip on that second row, spinning those tires on the restart. That's got to allow these front 2 to get away.
Yeah, Blake Reynolds obviously taking full advantage of the tyre spin behind, for, as you mentioned, the 91 and the 5, and he's all over the back of Tyler Fogarty. Tyler Fogarty looking to lock himself into the front 4, as is everyone in the top 7 there, as you see on the left-hand side scoring pylon. Blake Reynolds enters high, tries to cut down low, gets to the inside of Tyler Fogarty, no giving that time. Now back to the high side, looking for the same trick again, potentially for the 66. Going to get a big run off the corner here. What's the interval on the top left? Come down, but not quite enough for Blake Reynolds. He's going to need another way past the 40.
Indeed, and behind them you see the 2x2x2 starting to form from about 5th on back. right now. Matthew Weeks on the inside, Ethan Burrell on the outside, 11 and 37. That's the battle for the 5th position. Burrell's got to be able to get a little bit of a run there, and he's got to try to pull alongside Jonathan Cutlip on corner exit. I think he got a piece of the wall there on the exit of 2.
Definitely, I'm just seeing that Domino's box machine that looks a little bit crinkled on the front right. I'm seeing some damage up free from Burrell, but putting no dampering on his spirits here, looking for 4th on his teammate, as that is some gaggle behind them. Josh Adams, David Tucker, and Ray Bracey there, 3 abreast there momentarily through turns 1 and 2. Still again, potentially now Chad right here, Chad in the middle here, as Adams running the very, very high side here. With Ray Bracey right down low, everyone trying to take what they can get in whatever line they can. They know now how quick the top line is, and they're trying to use it to maximum effectiveness, but as you can see, it's really coming close to peril every single time someone does it. Ryan Gowell's almost in the wall.
But look at the run he got after bouncing off the wall. I mean, he's got rocket around 2 or 3 cars here.
A bit of a door strike with Justin Vandermeer, but already a mile between the pair of them, as again you're going to see Ryan Gowell go way upstairs. Jonathan Cutlip has lost the lead, of course, from Tyler Foley. I think his tyres might be disagreeing with him, or something on that car just isn't working right for Jonathan. He is humbling down the road. He's now in P8, with only Seth Rolls and Jeff Green, 2 non-playoff drivers behind him in the top 10. Still scrapping with Gavin Hibbs for P7, but I fear that... Oh, as Jeff Green almost goes around on the front straight. I'll have a look at that in a second. I fear that Jonathan Cutlip might be on something of a bankrupt trajectory.
Yeah, definitely a tough break there for Jeff Green in car 2 as this 3-wide battle continues. Jonathan Cutlip trying to hang on for dear life, as William mentioned. And now Kyle Hanshaw, that is, he's actually several laps down and working his way, or trying to allow this field to work its way by him, and they got really tight there with the battle that's already brewing, kind of in that 3-wide trajectory between David Tucker, Matthew Weeks, and Ray Bracey.
I think I saw, just as they were passing Kyle, that I think I saw a brief 4-wide, but lasting for a few fleeting fractions of a second. I think we almost just went 4-wide again. This lot are mental tonight, and I don't know how they're pulling it off without wrecking literally every time. I must say, props. Still 3 abreast there with the Flying Eagle on the bottom side there, gets past both Ray Bracey and Justin Vandermeer.
And of course, Ray Bracey and that Jeff Bodine throwback tonight, but now we look at the battle up front. This is Tyler Fode under pressure from Nick Massey. Shamu trying to get out front here and lead some laps.
I look away for 2 laps to look at the Jeff Green incident, and Nick Massey has just flown into the lead along with Tyler Fode's teammate Scott Crump, and he's now got 3/10 on the field. Where did he come from? I can only presume he took tyres in that first round of pit stops at the end of caution number 1, and that is paying dividends for Nick Massey and Scott Crump and the like, as they are flying out in front.
Absolutely, Nick Massey, Scott Crump opening a gap on Blake Reynolds, who's now stuck 3 wide with Tyler Fode and Chad Frankenfield. Gosh, the racing has been absolutely incredible so far tonight. I don't know that we've ever had, with the, at least in the Cup Series, a short track race like this here in Elite.
I must say, I am thoroughly entertained here by the show these boys are putting on here. See Scott Crump trying to make a move for the lead on potentially a slightly wounded and trying to have a look at his front right. I think he's okay, but Nick Massey unable to fight with Scott Crump for the time being, and Chad Frankenfield has just pounced on these guys, managed to get past Blake Reynolds on those fresh tyres, and could potentially be looking for the race lead here. Certainly sniffing P2 from potentially the clutches of Nick Massey, who gets into the wall, and Nick Massey, I think, will give that up in a matter of a couple of corners here. I don't think has the grip to fight that particular battle. We now have Scott Crump and Chad Frankenfield, 2 known rivals in Elite, scrapping for the lead at a short track. What could go wrong?
Oh, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing could go wrong. There you see that battle for the lead shaping up. Scott Crump in the 90, Chad Frankenfield in the 15.
Oh,
Scott Crump in the playoff picture. Chad Frankenfield isn't anymore. Chad Frankenfield wants to win. He wants to snap this winless route he's on, and now he is out front ahead of Scott Crump.
Scott Crump got majorly loose coming out of turn 4 there. The car just dropped away from him as the elevation changed there, presumably on slightly more worn tyres than the 15 kicking tyres forward. I maybe took tyres again after caution number 2 would explain potentially the grip differential that is evident between Chad and the rest of the field, as this front pack has gapped Blake Reynolds by over a second between Massey and Reynolds, and 2 seconds between Blake Reynolds and Chad Frankenfield. Further behind though, in this gaggle on the outskirts of the top 10, Gerald Campbell wrestling that bald eagle car around the taxi. Seth rolls way upstairs. Trouble.
Okay, we had a spinning 8 car that proceeded to be an Alt F4ing 8 car. So I think you're going to have a pretty cut and dry one on that, William.
Oh, let's have a looky.
Not sure. Yeah, we'll see if there was anything that led to him spinning, but it looks like he just loses it on his own.
In a straight line.
And then Alt F4.
Swift or F4. I've never had that.
That's a new
one. I mean, he didn't cause a yellow.
It didn't cause a yellow. So this is where, for people who aren't just maybe tech savvy to understand what I mean when I say Alt F4. Basically, if you mash that combination of keys, it automatically closes whatever program you're in. So probably, in Harrison's case, it was discretion in the better part of valor in terms of not letting his incident ruin other people's nights, but it does hypothetically open the Pandora's box of, if you hadn't done that, well, how much damage would you have suffered when you collected those other cars? Then you could potentially rejoin the race. We have rules against that. Harrison Talon's done for the night by the rulebook. I know that, but William doesn't even tell you that.
And I'm supposed to no.
Yeah, I know that one. I know that one. That's the you get parked for doing that. But I think you have to. I do understand Harrison's position there, and it means we are still green flag racing.
Yeah, there is obviously the rule as you mentioned. That I think it's literally in the rule book. It's just Alt F4. You are not permitted to rejoin the race once you Alt F4 from spinning incident or anything like that. So that Harrison can't just come back in a couple laps down and say, "Oh, look at me, I'm fine." So that is why he's now done for the evening. So definitely something of a noble sacrifice from Harrison to not. So I feel a little bad telling him. So I mean, I don't think there's any rules stating that he should be tallied for that. So unless Chad stops yelling.
I'm not sure on the tally. Yeah, I don't know for sure on the tally, because I don't know if that's why there wasn't severe damage to anyone. It didn't bring out a caution, but would it have brought out a caution without the Alt F4? That's where I'm not sure on the rulebook. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I think, yeah, I would think the pitfall of that would be the
parked for the night is covers it, right?
Oh yeah, no. But I think when you think about, would it have caused a yellow and tallying based off that, I think the pitfall of that being is entirely subjective. Even if it's 99.9% probable that it would, it still technically is. It's a subjective matter.
Right.
So
the new system on tallies, so that could save you points. Get the point wrong.
That is true. That is tactical, potentially, the new tally system of points being tracked across weekends, so that it's not just one tally. Okay, now you're fine. It's a bit harsher. Penalties carrying over and whatnot. So potentially a tactical. I don't know Harry's tally history though. Even though I literally race control this series, I don't know when the last time I tallied him was, which I suppose is kind of a good thing. But
I'm sure something that will be discussed in the social media conversations in the coming days. We do have I think we saved it again. Good.
Well, I've had some flagrant language on driver chat, so something definitely happened.
So Garrison Hogan was the car I saw around. I'm not sure how he got there, but it did not bring out a caution. So, and we'll see if we can determine on the Rebel Photography replay machine what happened there. It looks like
oh my word. I've just seen it. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
that is an incident of all time.
And somehow, nobody ever got fully all the way turned around. Everybody kept forward momentum. iRacing did not throw the yellow flag, and we continue on, but certainly a tough break there for Garrison Hogan. He is the big loser in that deal with the track position he loses.
Definitely. I think the one thing will be damage, if anyone's got a significant amount of damage for that. So I think that's going to be the one bit of it, that incident that's going to require some TLC, some attention, as it were. So we will see. I would like not to be that for severe damage when there's no yellow, but we'll have to wait and see.
Nevertheless, we continue on. There we look at one battle on the track. That's Jesse Racimus and Jeff Green. That is for about 20th on track, I do believe. Yep, 20th on the scoring pylon for Jeff Green at the moment. See Gavin Higgins in front of them. Now we move a little further ahead. This is Ethan Burrell and Ethan Stanley. A battle of the Ethans a little further behind than where we're used to seeing it. That's 15th and 16th. As we're at the halfway mark already, William.
These guys are doing well, I must say. Only 3 yellows, a couple schisms like we just saw with Garrison and whatnot. But these guys have been very, very, very nice to each other, I must say, in this first half of the race. So hopefully that continues and I can go to bed at a semi-reasonable hour.
Here's hoping, especially for our good friend William across the pond.
2:17 a.m. Very normal time to be awake.
Very normal time to be awake. This is just like old times for us. This used to be us on Sunday nights here on the Elite Racing Network.
Very true, very true.
Calling the truck series here on Sunday nights, and then now I've been on Wednesdays here for about a year now.
It's been a fun ride, isn't it?
It's been a ride of all time. Absolutely. We have a lot of fun, though. Me and usually David Westergreen here on Wednesday nights, as well as, of course, Dave Huckleberry pushing the buttons, giving you all these beautiful shots. Now we have a beautiful shot of Gerald Campbell going high, wide, and handsome in turns 1 and 2 to work around Seth Rawls. That's got to move him up to the 8th position. He's got to try to get around Gerald Campbell next. Is that Jonathan Cutlet blinking? It looks like it is. That's not somebody we're used to seeing having an issue like that. Hopefully it resolves itself fairly quickly.
I think it looks to have done. What I'm very impressed by, that I've noticed in these sort of last 50 or so laps, is Seth Rawls being able to keep up with perfectly clean cars when the front of that 25 is something...
Oh, it's used up. Yes.
It's a bit munched, and he's hanging on to 8th very, very well. Perfectly clean cars like Gerald and Tyler and John behind him. The tyre differential might be coming into play. I don't know when Seth pitted or if Seth was pitted, but he's doing very, very well to keep those very, very clean cars behind him.
Meanwhile, Tyler Fody, Gerald Campbell battling just behind that, and if they get racing too terribly hard, that's got to allow Paul Mikolajczyk to get up here. And you want to talk about a guy that's really turned up the wick here in the second half of the season. I know he's not a playoff driver, but we're starting to talk more and more about Paul Mikolajczyk as a guy running up front here in the Elite Belly Up Sports Cup Series and really rounding out that Channel 199 roster.
Yeah, of course, Blake Reynolds, Garrison Hogan. Blake has also competed in the Cook Series. Garrison Hogan definitely on the road on that trajectory. I think he's made round 2 of qualifying a couple of times. Paul Mikolajczyk knows what he's doing on the dirt road side of things as part of the Racecraft Academy Rallycross team. And is now affiliated with Channel 199. Obviously the eNASCAR team driven, I think it's Dylan Duval and someone else. Oh, Gerald Campbell going around, but Paul Mikolajczyk doing quite well. Just as we were talking about that though, Gerald Campbell going around. He does keep it clean, I think. Might have just tagged the wall, but we do stay green.
Yeah, and that's a tough break for Gerald Campbell for sure, but also I'm not sure. It might have been a self-inflicted one.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. John does kind of come in there, but does Gerald cut him off? His See him just around the second line. Cutlip sees an opportunity. He's definitely getting a better run through this part of the corner. And kind of converging. Gerald's diamonding down, trying to take the line that he wants, potentially not expecting Cutlip to put his nose in there.
Yeah.
And around goes the 0-0. That's an interesting one.
Very interesting one, especially because, I mean, yes, Cutlip is coming up, but he does have to exit the corner, too. He's not going to drive himself into the pit wall, so definitely a tough one for sure. Nevertheless, we do stay green. And there we are looking at Jeff Green, pun intended. I don't know. Maybe Huck's having a ha-ha with me at the moment.
He's not had the easiest of races. He's been involved in an incident or two, as Jeff Green. But he's doing alright. He's chugging back there in top 20, looking to, I think, reassert himself in this latter half of the race. But Paul Mikolajczyk, we were talking about him before. Gerald Campbell going on rudely cut us off there. He's obviously good on the rallycross side of things, but has always been a capable stock car driver, and I think he's showing it now, up to 9th. Looking potentially at getting past Seth Rawls here. Has just got past Tyler Foti, and potentially another top 10 on the cards for Paul here.
And there we just saw Johnny Thomas again. I mean, we've seen this a couple of times now. There, clearly, car 83 is fast. We've seen him try to charge his way forward and backwards and forward, and been tangled up in a couple of incidents, but now he's working his way forward again, and right now he's in the 17th position. We'll see how far he can get this time around with that run. Also, pay no attention to one of my favorite iRacing visual glitches, the floating human being from the TV3 cam right here in North Wilkesboro.
I am so glad I thought I was going mental, but I've never seen that.
It always catches people off guard the first time. It's great. Right about here.
There.
Right. Nope.
There he
Yeah,
is.
right.
There he is.
Right.
His little white shirt.
White
I
shirt,
thought I
in
was
line with the
going
mellow yellow
bonkers.
advertising. Right.
There
Oh
he is.
yeah.
What's
Look
he
at him.
doing?
Look at him.
He's having a great time. Do you reckon he's like paid extra for like levitating tickets or something? That is beautiful.
Let
if
me
he
tell
stood
you.
on the track.
My dad is terrified of heights, so I know there is not an amount of money you could give him to have that seat.
The guy does have that seat. Looks to be making full use of it. He is loving that backstretch view there of these cars ripping around North Wilkesboro in its old configuration. We're looking at a multi-car battle. We've heard Chad keying up on the radio. I think he's just been dumped from the lead. Oh, this might be spicy.
Oh no!
Caleb
That's Caleb
McHumor. So he's coming around him, unlapping himself, presumably on some fresher tires. Caleb dives it. Chad, sorry, dives it right back down in there. Oh, oh no!
Ah,
That's weird. That's a little bit loose. Yeah, that's a toughie.
It is.
Just as we potentially we're looking at a winless drought ending.
Yeah,
well for Chad.
And that's a tough one.
That's
a tough one for Chad.
Yeah. That would be an incident I think that requires my attention somewhat.
Yep. So, anyhow.
Michael Goodenough.
So what happened with old Goody here? Looks like he just got loose. That was no harm, no foul on that one.
Lawn mowing.
A little bit of lawn maintenance down the backstretch. Found the access road there. Did a little ski jump. And now we do have a caution. Oh! Jeff Green involved. This was in turn 1. Somebody hit him as he was spun out. I guess that was probably Mark Revelis. We'll get a look at what happened here on, unfortunately, his very own replay machine. You too can sponsor the replay machine so that we can replay the incidents you're in. There you see Jeff Green around. And I think Mark zigged when he should have zagged. And yeah, probably wouldn't have minded the 2-car not rolling down the track as well. But probably wanted to go high there, Mark. Meanwhile, here's what actually started the incident. Looks like Green and Gavin Hibbs get a little bit of contact, and then he's got to get into the wall, and then the other Gavin H is going to have nowhere to go and tag Jeff Green and send him around. So that's got to be an interesting call. We were doing so well to keep William not busy and let him entertain us here in the booth, but now he's going to be sorting a few things out for a little bit, I'm afraid. Shout out to the pace car immediately deploying into action with no regard for Jeff Green's life. Ugh. So anyway, I imagine this has got to bring, if it hasn't already, the pit stops may have happened while we were showing these replays, but I have to assume everybody getting to pit road here, Dave.
Looks like it. All the way down to 21st.
Yeah, that'd be
that's
about
pretty much
right.
Everybody.
That's just about everybody. Yes. And that's going to put Scott Crump and Justin Wadsworth on the front row for this restart we've got coming up. We'll see how it all shakes out here with everybody getting new shoes and the lineup all shaken up from the last time we restarted after that long green flag run. Kind of a level playing field as we get ready to go back green. Scott Crump fires, away we go. And he's got to get out in front of Justin Wadsworth, defending series champion in that 6 car. Get out front, battle for third behind them. Jonathan Cutlip back up to that 3rd position. Blake Reynolds in 4th. Hopefully we'll be able to get some more of that green flag racing. We'll see if this bunched up the field later in the race, second half of the race. Have to imagine the aggression will turn up a little bit, but it's already been plenty feisty all night long. So we'll see how it plays out as Scott Crump opening the door just a little bit there for Justin Wadsworth, and he's got to have a look, but I think that's just got to allow Blake Reynolds to move to the outside. And now he's got, whoa, huge crossover there from Blake Reynolds to get to the inside of Justin Wadsworth. And that's got to give the 2nd spot to Blake Reynolds. I didn't know that was in the arsenal. Holy cow. And now he's got to be looking to pull alongside Scott Crump. Battle for the lead here. Side by side, Crump in the 90. They're gonna almost touch there. That's got to force Blake Reynolds to back out of it a little bit, but he doesn't give up a ton of ground. Just enough to put him back beside Justin Wadsworth for this 2nd position. Scott Crump leading the way, 133 laps in the book, starting lap 134. Blake Reynolds, Justin Wadsworth fighting for that 2nd position. Great racing we've had all night long here in the North Wilkesboro 200 as this battle for 2nd rages on. I see we have William White back, so I will ask him to kind of give us the overview of those couple of incidents leading up to that last caution and the official rulings.
Yeah, these lads are starting to actually put me to a bit of work here. The incident between Chad and Caleb, as we discussed briefly before I scuttled away to actually go have a proper look, was incredibly tough. Caleb just got a little bit loose and tagged the back of Chad. I had to look at both onboards and both replayed a couple of times to really discern exactly what happened. It's a similar incident actually to what happened between Chad and Seth Rawls at Kern County, where Chad only got a smidge loose, but it was enough to tag Seth into the outside wall, with the 15 getting a tally for that. So, having harkened back to that incident in terms of how similar it is, as I see Justin Vandermeer hitting the ball, we'll have a look at that in a minute. The similar nature, and Caleb got a little bit loose, and that's what initiated the contact. The tally was issued to 59. And for the incident between Jeff, Gavin, and the other Gavin, the contact between Jeff Green and Gavin Hibbs was kind of a racing deal, rolling on each other and whatnot, and then Jeff got a little bit loose and it's caused a bit of a chain reaction. So I think with the contact starting it being nothing really assignable to either driver, I just considered the incident as a whole a racing deal, as it was just an unfortunate chain reaction.
There you have it. So now William White will try to figure out his determination of what happened there with car 80, Justin Vandermeer. As you saw the replay, that incident on the back stretch, which I think might have actually started on the front stretch. We won't be able to go back and look at that because there's just too much going on, but maybe William will be able to kind of verify what happened there. I'm sure he'll be taking a look at it as we speak. Meanwhile, the racing continues. We are still green flag racing here. You see Ryan Gable and Johnny Thomas side by side there. So too Seth Rawls looking to the outside of Ethan Bell. This is all just outside the top 10. Hang on to it, Chad Frankenfield. So that will also stay green. And now Ryan Gable's on the backstretch spun out, but that's not going to bring out a caution either. There might have been another car. Yes, there was one of the Channel 199 cars that spun out as well on the backstretch. That's Garrison Hogan that has gone around there. You see the replay of Ryan Gable spinning, and then behind him, that's Garrison Hogan with Gerald Campbell. I did not see that Gerald Campbell was part of it. What's going on? And now I see David Tooker, and there was another car on pit road. I don't know if they... What would be necessitating a green flag pit stop here?
Gone.
Gavin Hibbs getting a change of tires. It is all happening right now.
Did not pull Tooker up.
No, that's fair. We'll stay with since we are still green with 55 laps to go, we'll have to use our mind's imagination as to what all happened there, but just so much going on. Now you see this battle here as they're trying to work around Mark Rebellis. That's Nick Massey in the 48, Ethan Stanley in the 91. Massey is fifth at catching a piece of the outside wall on corner exit. Ethan Stanley's going to have to lift to keep from absolutely shipping Nick Massey into turn 3 after that contact. That is going to open the door for Stanley to challenge for that position now as they are side by side working their way through 1 and 2. Tyler Fody waiting in the wings to see how this battle plays out and see if he can pounce for an extra position. Up front, Justin Wadsworth running into second position. Blake Reynolds in third. This battle is allowing Scott Krupp to stretch out just a little bit here. As now we're going to see that crossover again from Blake Reynolds, but is it going to be able to quite pull up alongside Justin Wadsworth? Now he actually got a really good run there into turn 3. That's got to put him side by side. Jonathan Cutlip running in that 4th position, watching this battle just like we are. Reynolds on the inside, Justin Wadsworth on the outside. And this time I think Blake Reynolds has the run. He's got to get in front of Justin Wadsworth, claim that second position. Now he's going to try to chase down Scott Crump. Inside of 50 laps to go now here at North Wilkesboro. Oh, trouble! That is Seth Rawls and Johnny Thomas on the backstretch. Another incident for Johnny Thomas, but we'll see how it looks on the replay. Hard to tell from that angle. We'll get another look at it here. So here's the question. Does Johnny come off the wall here, or does Seth? I think that's got to be a tough one for William White as well. He has not had it easy here in these last few laps. Field coming down pit road. Do we owe any more commercials here, Dave?
Yes, we do.
Well, let's get those in real quick.
All right.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Getting ready for the restart here. Inside of 50 laps to go, close to 40 laps to go here in the North Wilkesboro 200, the first race in the round of 10 for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series playoffs. This time on the front row, it is Blake Reynolds and Jonathan Cutlip as we're getting down to the thick of it to see who's going to win a spot in the championship for all those playoff drivers in the orange at the front of the field. Blake Reynolds fires through the restart zone, gets out front. And Ethan Stanley's got to try to drive up into that second spot. Can't quite get clear of Jonathan Cutlip, but quite a run he had through turns 1 and 2 to put himself in that position. If he can keep that momentum up, he's going to clear Jonathan Cutlip out of turn 4, move Ethan Stanley up to the second position as he seeks another win here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series in the 2025 A season. Now you look at this battle. Tyler Fody, Matthew Weeks, Scott Crump, Ethan Burrell, all these cars battling from fourth on back, side by side. Tyler Fody's got to get clear of Matthew Weeks to move into that fourth position. And he's got to want to keep working his way forward on that outside. Now we look at Scott Crump, Ethan Burrell. Crump in the 90, Burrell in the 37. Justin Wadsworth lost a fair bit of ground there in that cycle of pit stops under caution. He's trying to get his way back forward. Looking to the inside of Ethan Burrell. Wadsworth into 6, Burrell in the 37. Crump now to the inside of Matthew Weeks. That's a battle for the 5th position.
And these two, we'll say they aren't the biggest fans of each other, are they, Scott Crump, Matthew Weeks? They have quite the rivalry for quite some time. I must say, sometimes I've found myself driving behind them. Or, spectating them as I've RC'd, and it's been quite exciting, and it almost got quite tasty there as Scott Crump got all types of loose out of turn 2, and Justin Wadsworth and Ethan Burrell. Some brilliant heads-up driving from both of those two to get out of that situation unscathed, but And that gives Matthew Weeks now the upper hand. As Justin Wadsworth now loose. Burrell checks up. Holmes checks up as well behind them. These guys are really fighting the loose condition now with just under 40 laps to go.
Oh, and we do have a car
Nick
run. Nick Massey. And that's going to collect
Garrison
Chad
Hogan, Chad
Frankenfield.
as well.
Yeah.
No, dear.
And that will bring out the caution here on lap 164, our 7th caution of the evening. Take a look on the Rebelus Photography replay machine, and it looks like, yeah, Massey gets into the back of Trey Holmes while he's also clipping that curb in turn 3 and 4. That's one of those features of this 1987 version of North Wilkesboro Speedway. In real life, there's an apron there. He probably saves that car if this is the modern day North Wilkesboro. Instead, those left side tires hop that curb while he's already out of shape, trying to avoid contact with Trey Holmes in front of him, and that is the coup de grace at that point. Nick Massey was not going to bring that car back. That collects Chad Frankenfield, which collects Garrison Hogan, and brings out the caution. So now we'll get a look here. What are we looking at? Where are you showing us, Dave?
Massey is appealing the alley here.
Okay. Maybe there was some contact entering the corner to put him that close to Trey Holmes. Nick is going to say the 23 drove across his nose. That's what he's going to argue there, that he was forced onto the curb and forced into the contact by the 23 car, I believe is going to be the argument there. I don't know if he's far enough alongside to have a case there, but that will be up to the appeals committee to decide.
Alongside at all.
He's not. No. I mean, he said in the chat he got help, which would imply a hit from behind.
That did not happen.
That simply did not occur. I would see the case for potentially, the contact between Trey causing him to get onto the curb, but I'm of the opinion that he caused the contact with Trey because he wasn't ever alongside and just got into the back of him, which is why the tally was issued in the first place. Of course, he has every right to appeal.
Sure, that's what the appeals process is for.
I mean, I might be biased towards my own call, yeah, but
sure.
I don't particularly see that getting overturned, if I'm perfectly honest. It doesn't seem too contentious, in my opinion.
Well, nevertheless, we'll get ready for a restart here. Closing in on 30 laps to go. Blake Reynolds, Ethan Stanley, the front row for this restart. And we'll get ready to go back racing here after our 7th caution in the North Wilkesboro 200. Blake Reynolds gets out front. That's going to allow Jonathan Cutlip to challenge for that 2nd position as he will battle with Ethan Stanley off turn 2.
See Ethan Stanley get a bit of wheel spin, shaking his buns and down the front straight there, but still manages to keep P2. Blake Reynolds, though, doing very well on the restart. He gets a good quarter-second clear of the chasing pack behind him, though. So Stanley drives it deep into the braking zone. He shaves off a few thousandths, but it's going to lose it all and a little bit more, with Blake Reynolds being very, very smooth in and out here. And it's going to be 30 to go this time. Blake Reynolds looks to have the measure of everyone right now, but of course, a lot still to occur here.
Oh, plenty can happen in 29 laps at a short track with a playoff spot, a championship 4 bid on the line. Right now, those top 2, Reynolds and Stanley, trying to run away and hide, but have to imagine we've not seen the last of the excitement from this pack snarling behind them. Right now, Jonathan Cutlip battling with Tyler Fody for that 3rd position.
Yeah, definitely the excitement's going to only go up from here up until the checker flag. Going to be 28 laps to go here at the line. Reynolds and Stanley locked in a fierce duel up at the front there. 3 attempts only separating them 2. Then it's 3rd and 4th side by side. That's 7-time champion Tyler Fody with Jonathan Cutlip on his inside. Scott Crump as well, multi-time champion, waiting in the wings here for another spot in the final 4. Weeks and Wadsworth, of course, Wadsworth the defending champion of this series, right in position number 7. So that's your top 7 all being playoff guys. Jonathan Cutlip with a bit of a not necessarily unorthodox line, but I think potentially he took a bit more on entry than he wanted to, almost got into the left rear of the 40 car, still though hanging on to the inside. But of course, Zach, the more that these two scrap for P3, the more Reynolds and Stanley will just begin to walk away ever so slightly.
And, you know, the funny thing is, because they're also battling behind them, you see Matthew Weeks and Scott Croft, nobody's really able to challenge them for third. Nobody's getting held up by this battle, but like you say, it is allowing those top two to get away, to stretch out that advantage. And certainly Ethan Stanley would love for that to be the case. If he has to challenge Blake Reynolds, as you've mentioned, a former Coke Series competitor for this win, he doesn't want anybody else interfering, right? He wants as much of a buffer there so that he can go mano-a-mano with that 66 car.
I think now would be a good opportunity, now that he's got half a second back to his teammate. If I'm Ethan Stanley, I might look at saving a bit of time. Granted, you've not got much time left to save time, but I think set yourself up to have the best chance to beat Blake one-on-one sort of at the end of this race, which might be what he's doing. You're seeing Blake begin to stretch out something of an advantage here. So I think if I'm Stanley, maybe save a bit of rubber, maybe use it all at the end, see if you can even just get to the bumper of the 66 and then maybe back out the chrome horn and see if you can force your way past it at this just over half a mile short track here. So it's no stranger to the bumper and run. I'm sure we'll see a couple of them get pulled out towards the end of this race. There's just 21 to go at the line now, and it's going to be all to play for a Final Four spot.
Were you ever big on stuntmen growing up, William?
Stuntmen? No, not really.
No? Okay.
I don't know if that was really in my time as such. I'm the mid-2000s baby, so...
Sure. Well, I think I'm about to pull my own stunt here. We've only got 20 laps to go. So with that Blue Egg marketing car running second, let me tell you about Blue Egg Marketing. Rev up your business with Blue Egg, your marketing pit crew. Turbocharge your lead generation with experienced drivers that can navigate the competitive track to connecting with your customers. With Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big.
Nicely done.
Admit it, you like that, William.
Let us know in the chat if you like the AI jingle or Zach's version. Who is real Zach, not AI Zach.
No, we do not need AI Zach. No, absolutely not.
Doesn't Gerald have like AI
Gerald
voices?
Probably has AI Zach.
We could get him.
That's terrifying to think about.
Imagine being replaced by a robot version of yourself. That's horrifying, isn't it? And that also horrifying. Seeing Tyler Foti get bigger and bigger in your rearview mirror, and unfortunately that is the reality for Ethan Stanley. As
that is indeed what is
somewhat closed in on his teammate in the number 91, and Blake Reynolds. That is going to be music to his ears. Nearly a second now. So this is definitely, I don't think, a matter of tyre saving for the 91. This is a matter of pace differential at this exact moment in the race. Blake Reynolds just has the measure over absolutely everyone in this particular stage here. It's 3/4 of a second between Ethan Stanley and Blake Reynolds, although that gap now starting to come down significantly. Less than 7/10 now, potentially just some hyper saving, and now trying to use it all as his teammate begins to get to the back of him. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't know if Stanley has enough time to reclose that gap, especially with Foti now coming to his inside.
Tyler Foti looking to the inside of Ethan Stanley. 14 laps to go now. Tyler Foti challenging for that second position. Blake Reynolds out in front looking for that third consecutive win. Had one win in the regular season. Ended the round of 16 with back-to-back wins. Wants to punch his playoff ticket to the championship for tonight. He'll get around the lap car of Mark Rebillis. And Tyler Foti still battling with Ethan Stanley. He'd love to get around that 91 car and try to chase down Blake Reynolds.
He most definitely would. See if he can go mano-a-mano with the ex-Coke driver. As we are now going to be momentarily 3 abreast here. Mark Rebillis trying to get out of everyone's way. Does so nice and courteously, but with Tyler Foti, son of Frank Foti, in the number 40 machine, seeing if he can potentially get to the back of Blake Reynolds. Of course, he's got 12 laps to make up an entire second. I fear that Ethan Stanley might have been something of a free fall, as he's been just taken quite easily by Jonathan Cutlip and potentially now by his other teammate Scott Crump. Matthew Weeks as well, waiting in the wings, goes way upstairs, looking potentially for a move either side of the 91 here, and not looking particularly amazing for Ethan Stanley right in these dying embers here.
Definitely losing some ground is Ethan Stanley in that 91 car, and every one of these positions matters for that playoff battle. All of these guys in the top 7 being playoff competitors, we know how tight those points are. Fortunately, if there's anybody that can maybe afford a little bit of this, it is Ethan Stanley with all those playoff points he has accumulated over the course of the season, entering the round of 10 with a 16-point buffer on Blake Reynolds. But definitely falling through the field, Ethan Stanley is now. You see Jonathan Cutlip, Tyler Fody doing battle for the second position.
Yeah, heated battle now, but I think one too many battles for second place for any of this lot to really have a chance at Blake here. And Tyler Fody is going to try and hold off Jonathan Cutlip here for second place. As I think the entire field is very much, lest there be a yellow, I think the fight for the win is very much over. With Blake Reynolds continue to walk away here. So I think everyone has now shifted their attention to P2, of which there are 3 main contenders here: Jonathan Cutlip, Tyler Fody and Scott Crump, all on top of each other here, looking for those extra couple of points for their own playoff bid to get into the Final Four. All these guys as well, very, very close together in the standings. This is crucial racing here with just 6 to go.
And you know, out front, Blake Reynolds sounds like James Essex of Dirt Late Model announcing fame. Please stay green. He does not want a caution. He wants to hold on to this 2.5 advantage. Get home, get this win, as now Jonathan Cutlip will get clear of Tyler Fody. Man, 5 laps. That's not a lot of time to make up a 2.5. I think Jonathan Cutlip would love to see a caution now that he is in that second position.
I think that's all anyone can hope for to even get close, really, to Blake Reynolds. We're going to consult the Robalis photography replay. We're looking at the 70 of Jesse Racimus, and are we going to see some twirly-doos? We are. Well, not quite twirly-doos, but a nice save, a nice tidy save.
Nicely done.
From Jesse Racimus, certainly, and he's going to take it down to pit road so we can get high fives, I presume, from all his team members for what was a pretty nice lawn mowing display.
Hopefully they'll have some ice cream waiting for it.
That'd be nice. I'd like an ice cream right now, actually. I think all these guys should get an ice cream for doing really, really well today. Maybe get one of those stickers that you get in school. I did
You
good.
did it. You did it.
You did
I mean,
it.
in seriousness, a short track race on this platform in this series, keeping it single digit in the caution tally, absolutely. High fives all around for our competitors tonight in the Belgium Sports Cup Series, as we see Scott Crump trying to challenge Tyler Fody for that 3rd position here. Out front, though, by nearly 2 seconds as they approach the white flag, it is all Blake Reynolds in car 66. If he could just get this car around one more time, he will be taking part in the championship battle at Las Vegas come the first Wednesday in June. Out of turn 4, give it to Blake Reynolds, 3rd win in a row. He's fighting for a championship this season in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series.
That was dominant in the last phase there from Blake Reynolds. Wasn't someone else, he didn't get the pole, wasn't someone who was particularly dusting the field early doors here, but absolutely smoked everyone when it mattered most right in the end there, and won by just about 2 seconds. Don't know how many hat tricks we've had in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series, 3 in a row now for Blake, but certainly will be part of elite company in this league. As if he wasn't already, being one of very few Coke drivers in this series, but now is a hat trick scorer in the Cup Series.
I might have to do the homework on that real quick.
Unless I know you are a stat guy, aren't you?
That's not a stat I had in the holster, I gotta be honest. I probably should have done my homework on that with Blake Reynolds riding 2 wins in a row entering tonight, but No, you have caught me unprepared, so I'll work on getting that, but of course we'll also work on getting a word with our top 3 finishers tonight as Blake Reynolds continues his celebration around North Wilkesboro Speedway.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you a stat quickly before we go to the results here for next week. Just in case Blake decides to go 4 in a row, he'd be only the 5th driver in Elite to do that in any series.
Do what?
That's a stat for you. If he gets 4 in a row next week, he'll be only the 5th driver in any Elite series to do so. So there's a stat for you.
Well, there you go.
So only 4 people have done it previously.
Celebration still continuing
That was a sick
for
burnout.
Blake Reynolds. Does about a full lap around North Wilkesboro. And now we'll work on getting a word with our top 3 finishers, starting with tonight's 3rd place finisher. That is Tyler Fody. Tyler, man, I don't know if anybody would have expected, especially after a lot of what we were hearing during practice, a relatively clean short track race here tonight. What was it like actually turning some green flag laps here on a short track?
It was fun. It was honestly surprising. We rolled into practice with 130 track temp and was fully anticipating like 50 green flag laps maybe, but no, it's surprisingly everyone did a really good job taking care of their stuff, taking care of each other. And we got some really solid runs in there. I don't know what the official count was at the end, but it had to be 5 or less yellows, which is crazy. And yeah, I worked up a big old sweat here racing the cut lip and trying to get what we could get, so it was fun.
And certainly very important with all those playoff drivers up front to get everything you could get. Strong finish to carry you forward here in this round of 10. Of course, Iowa next week. What are your thoughts going into that one?
Yeah, well, we got to check the see how the points situation's looking. Was able to win the stage, which was big, and then 3rd here, so we'll check the points. Iowa's fairly good too. So yeah, we'll see. Just got to try and be consistent here as long as we're not getting any new winners. So yeah.
And of course, before we let you go, Tyler, let's get those shout-outs on this 3rd place finish here this evening.
Yeah, just like Norman guys there, 3, 4, 5 looks like, 8th as well. Solid night for most of us. Cavill was looking good and then ran into some problems, but yeah, always fun running with those guys. And then shout out to Cutlip for taking 2nd there from me, and then also painting all of our cars. Does a pretty good job. JD Designs there, and yeah, shout out to you guys up here in the booth. Hopefully we're back here talking to y'all in some way or another next week, but we'll see.
There you have it. Congratulations, Tyler. We'll see you in 1 week's time at Iowa.
Sounds good.
All right, so that's Tyler Fody, your 3rd place finisher tonight. Next, we will hear from the driver of car number 5 for Fueled Up Racing, Jonathan Cutlip, runner-up here tonight. And Jonathan, it was definitely a wild one. Lots of racing, a lot more green flag racing than I think any of us were expecting, but definitely proved pretty exciting, and you were able to come away with the 2nd place effort here tonight. What was it going to take to get one spot better?
I think a little bit more track position off the start, even though I was pretty far up there, and I didn't put enough fuel in the car. Me and Blake were going back and forth on it, and we ended up doing both strategies, and he said he liked the rotation that he had, and I felt kind of skatey. I'm not really sure if it was the 2 tires or just the weight in the car difference, but I feel like it was just going to be a track position game at the end, and Blake's super fast here, he's super fast everywhere, but I feel like it would have just been really close between the 2 of us had we swapped positions, or just whatever way it worked out. Is going to be hard to pass, but yeah, he did a great job. I feel like I did a great job too. I felt like I was a mile off in practice, and I wasn't even sure if top 10 was going to be possible, but got a pole and ended up coming away in second in a pretty hectic race.
And obviously, I mean, certainly the win is what you're all looking for in the playoff, but absolutely a second place to start this round has to be a pretty strong confidence booster, especially with another short-ish track coming up at Iowa. Puts you in a pretty good spot moving forward. How do you feel going into these next couple of races at Iowa and Homestead?
I was pretty much just telling myself I just needed to make it through here. This was pretty much the wild card because this is such a tight racetrack. You're always close quarters with somebody, and the setup tonight was super hard to drive, just keeping it straight, much less making speed. But yeah, the next two tracks, a little bit more breathing room, a little more traditional. Iowa's a short track technically, but race is like an intermediate, so you have some breathing room to people, and you're not just like on top of each other and just close quarters combat. But as far as Iowa, have fairly decent speed there. Going into Homestead, I think is the next race after that. Racing fixed there a couple weeks ago wasn't too good. It was pretty tight, so hopefully it loosens up next week or in a couple weeks. But yeah, this was the big one tonight. Just coming away, clean car, top two. Definitely take that.
Certainly an ideal outcome. Before we let you go, Jonathan, let's get those shout-outs and thank yous on this runner-up finish tonight here at North Wilkesboro.
Shout out to Race EPI, my team, Field Up Racing. Justin was really quick tonight. His finish doesn't reflect that. I actually think he had pretty decent speed, top 10 even. Fortunately, got some damage. Shout out to you guys over here in Elite, Dave, William, and Zach. Shout out to the field. I'll give credit where it's due, and I kind of get a little irritated when it starts to get a little crashy, but tonight was a super hard setup to drive, and everyone kept it clean, and I was a very, very good race. I was not expecting to get over more than 20 laps, but I think we had a few decent runs in there. It was all pretty clean, it looks like. Hopefully you had a good race to commentate. Shout out to my mom and all of our family watching. I know they tune in week in and week out just to support us, so hopefully we gave them a good showing tonight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jonathan, for joining us here in the booth. Congratulations on the runner-up finish. We'll let you go and see you in 1 week's time at Iowa.
Thank you. See you there. Hopefully we're one spot better.
There you have it, Jonathan Cutlip, coming home P2 tonight here at North Wilkesboro. And that brings us to the winner tonight, locking himself into the Championship 4, where he will battle for the Belly Up Sports Cup Championship on June 4th at Las Vegas. Blake Reynolds. Blake, how does that sound?
Sounds pretty damn good. I wasn't expecting to win this race. I showed up very late. My sister called me, and it was this whole deal. There was a bird stuck in a rat trap. It was crazy. So I showed up. I got it out. That's the conclusion.
Hey, I'm here to listen.
Yeah, so that all happened. I show up 15 minutes for practice. I'm like, okay. I like North Wilkesboro. I like in the 87 cars. And even like, I used to really like this in street stocks. Probably fun in mini stocks too. But anyway. Next gen, haven't really done it. I think I might have done it a practice when officials came here, but this was quite a good combo. This track works when the car is tight, and the next gen's always tight, so I think it just works. The same reason why I think we had a race recently. Oh well, Dover worked really good because it was tight, but yeah, this put on a good show. Tires, I did not expect tires to be a thing, because we could go like 160 laps on a tank of gas or something. And then, yeah, just crazy stuff. And I'm glad I got the win, because I was not sure how I felt about Homestead if I couldn't get it in the first two.
Well, I have to tell you, Blake, I've been trying to do the homework here. I'm working to get some confirmation from an extra set of eyes. It's bad enough when I'm using my 4, so I'm trying to get some extra confirmation on this. But I believe you might be the first driver in the history of the Belly Up Sports Cup Series to win 3 races in a row. So,
Wow.
I mean, yeah, that's especially after all that time we talked about. You just wanted to win one race to get the monkey off your back during the regular season. Now you are on fire here in these playoffs. How much does that help, knowing these next 2 weeks you don't have to worry about what happens at Iowa and Homestead? We can turn our focus to Las Vegas.
I accept that award or record or I mean, that's pretty cool. How long has this league been going on? There's no way I'm the only 3 in a row.
I've looked really hard. I'm not, again, I'm as surprised as you are. I figured somebody has to have done it, but as far as I could tell, going back to the first race was on September 4th of 2019. I cannot find that it has happened in the Cup Series. It happened in other Elite Series, but not the Cup Series that I can see.
Interesting. Well, last week was a horseshoe win. I don't really count that, but, the stats sheets say, I only led the 1 lap, I think. So, yeah, I'll take that from last week. Dover, I did really well. And then tonight, I just, right after the stage, I stayed after the stage with all the front runners there, like Fody and Cutlip and Stanley, and I think I was the only one that maintained the top 5 the whole time. Everyone else kind of got shuffled, just stuck on the outside. Tires were coming, and I just kind of held station before my tires, or like we got even. I was in like 5th, and then I got past Nick Massey, and then a caution came out. But yeah, I just played my cards right, kept my head in the game when I was on the wrong strat, and got my stage points, and I got my win because I took 2 tires at the right time. I knew everyone would, but it was definitely the right call at the end.
Well, before we let you go, obviously, I know it's old hat at this point, but let's get those shout-outs and thank yous on another win here to punch your ticket into the championship for.
Yes, sir. Channel 199 Sim Racing, Travis Pastrana and the gang back there, Track Racer Simulation, of course, Drink Machine Works, Racecraft, my friends over in the Pro Edge Discord, I guess it's called. Me and Garrison and Paul hang out in there for our team. And you guys for putting this on, and Chad and the admin team putting on Elite. And I'm glad I get to be racing Elite 4.
All right, well, there you have it. Blake Reynolds, winner tonight. Congratulations, and we'll see you obviously next week at Iowa, and of course battling for the championship in about a month's time at Las Vegas.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
All right, so that's Blake Reynolds, winner this evening. And man, again, I know we've already said it. It was mentioned a couple of times in those interviews, William. I don't think anybody would have expected the race we got here tonight. So much green flag racing, so much excitement. But this has been a lot of fun. And I know you had a little bit less fun at times, but I think overall you have to be pretty pleased with how tonight went.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I came into this. I didn't know what track we were at. I just know I do race control Wednesdays, so I'm here tonight. And I look at actually I didn't even know until I joined this very Discord call, and I see we're at North Wilkesboro. I'm like, oh no. I'm just thinking this is going to be horrible. But to these guys, I think we have 7 yellows in 200 laps at North Wilkesboro. That is very, very, very impressive. Especially with Blake and Jonathan mentioned the setup was quite tricky to drive with. So definitely, I think that just makes it more and more impressive. It was also just a very, very nice competitive race. I mean, the gaps and the intervals do not tell the whole story. It was not a case of Blake getting pole and running away with it like a Coke Series driver potentially would do. For a good, half of the race, Blake was kind of silenced almost by everyone else. It was the likes of Jonathan Cutlip and Ethan Stanley, and even Chad Frankenfield at one point. When those tires rotated, he was up at the front by quite some margin. So I think that results base does not tell the full story. I think that was a very, very entertaining race, really, from start to finish. Battles up and down the field, and I'm thoroughly impressed and was thoroughly entertained.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think we all expected a little bit of a rougher show tonight. Instead, we got treated to arguably one of the best races of the season. And of course, we get to carry this into Iowa to hopefully put on a similarly exciting race in 1 week's time. And hopefully, we'll have our full complement back here on the Elite Racing Network for you in that one. And hopefully, William will be here for race control, and none of us will have to step in for that. And we'll have David Westergreen back in the booth, and we'll be able to give you the full Monty for these last 3 races of the season. Thank you for tolerating us through all of that here on the Elite Racing Network for these past couple of weeks. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope everybody enjoyed this race as much as we did here in the booth here tonight. But on behalf of William White, Dave Huckleberry producing this evening, thank you for watching this evening. Congratulations. Unless somebody might prove me wrong and find somebody else that's won 3 in a row. Regardless, Blake Reynolds has won 3 in a row. There's no denying that achievement. Congratulations to him on that, punching his ticket to the championship race at Las Vegas. And thank you all for watching, and we will see you next week at Iowa. Good night, everybody.